Hi, my name is Chris Workman. I'm the Saturday night campus pastor and the home-to-home area leader at the Knoxville campus. Welcome to the beginning of our church-wide focus series, The Generous Life. We're embarking on a 5-week journey together towards becoming more generous people. And I want you to know, this isn't just something that God wants from us. It's something that He wants for us. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but truly generous people tend to be some of the most joyful people that you'll ever be around. They just seem to have a skip in their step. They've got a sparkle in their eye. And to get there, to get to that kind of joy, generosity has to become a way of life. What I mean by that is that it has to become a foundational value in the way that we approach life, rather than just isolated acts of generosity. I mean, it's one thing just to occasionally do something generous. It's another thing to truly be a generous person. And so it's quite a quest. But you know, a long journey begins with the first step. And so as we get going, the place to begin is to realize that generosity starts with God. I mean, when God created the heavens and the earth, when God first said, "Let there be light," it was an expression of His generous heart. He wanted to create something wonderful to share with others. In fact, we wouldn't know anything about being giving, sharing people if God hadn't modeled it for us. And yet, in our own personal lives, we allow ourselves to doubt God's generosity. Genesis chapter 3, the very first tear in humanity's relationship with God was a case of the first couple beginning to doubt that God was generous and kind and good, and beginning to believe that God was withholding His best blessings from them. And God had given them everything, not only stunning surroundings, but He had given them purest love from His own heart, as well as the opportunity to experience that together. He had given them the freedom to enjoy the sweetest fruits of the garden. And yet the devil comes along and plants a seed of doubt in their minds. And he says to them, "Has God really said that you can't eat any of this amazing fruit?" And of course, I think the devil knew that that was an exaggeration, but he wanted to plant that seed in their minds that God really isn't a very giving God, that God's really stingy, that God's really selfish. And so he plants that seed in their mind, and Eve responds and says, no, God said that we could eat the fruit of the garden, but we just can't eat the fruit from that one tree over there in the middle of the garden, because He said if we eat that fruit, we'll die. And the devil says, oh no, you're not going to die. God knows that if you eat that fruit, you're going to become like Him. You're going to gain His insight, in effect, His power. And that's why He told you no. And they believed Him. And we've been doubting God's generosity in our own lives ever since. But see, until I am convinced deep down inside of God's generosity, of God's graciousness, that He's shown towards me in the past and then He's continuing to show towards me, I am going to greatly struggle to become a generous person myself. And that's why this is so very important. But once I begin to see that, once I begin to come to a place in my life where I can no longer doubt God's generosity towards me, then I'm able to move towards His heart, and I'm able to let His generosity rub off on me. And I got to tell you, it's fun being like God in the ways that we're supposed to be like God. And we were created in His image. But for me to get to that place where I am convinced of God's generosity towards me, I need to look at my life. I need to take a careful inventory of my blessings. And I need to do this not just once, but over and over and over again. And so as I look at my own life, I can tell you that God has been so good to me. He's given me the opportunity to be, to experience this thing called life. He has given me His mercy and His forgiveness, which is incredibly generous in and of itself. He's given me my wife, Michelle, and all of the happiness and the energy and the love that she brings into my life, and the ways that I have grown since my time of being with her. And He gave me the love of my late wife and all of the great times that we experienced for 2 decades, and the 2 children that He gave us. And now this stepson that Michelle's brought me. And even though those kids sometimes drive me crazy and sometimes they frustrate me so bad, I feel like pulling my hair out, I realize how generous God has been to give me the opportunity to love those kids and to see life through their eyes. And God's given me friendships, wonderful friendships, some that have lasted for years and years and years, and have brought so many blessings in my life. He's given me the gift of health. I've got eyes that can see. I can see a beautiful sunset and a perfect rose. I can see the faces of my loved ones. He's given me ears that can hear amazing music. He's given me the ability to taste a vast array of different kinds of food, everything from a juicy burger or a steak to Mexican food. He's given me arms and legs that work and can move, and I can play, and I can jump off a diving board, or I can throw a football with my son. He's given me so many things. That's just the beginning. I mean, God's given me the opportunity to learn, to be educated, to grow in my understanding of the world. He's given me His Word, and having that so available to me to encourage me and to let me know His heart towards me and what my purpose is here on this planet. He's given me the opportunity to go places and see things and experience things and use my gifts and abilities and talents. I mean, He's blessed me with the home that I live in and the cars that I drive and the clothes that I wear. And I could go on, and it's still just scratching the surface. I mean, God has generously given me the promise of living with Him. He's given me a place with Him eternally in this new creation that's been specifically, or will be specifically designed for us, this paradise. And I can't tell you why, but that belongs to me. God has given it to me simply because of His generous, gracious heart. But that's me. It's time to talk about you now, because I know that all of us have been blessed by God in different ways, and God has shown His generosity to us in different ways. And so as you get started, let's warm up the discussion by spending maybe just about 5 minutes and briefly share your own personal perspective of God's level of generosity towards you. Do you see God's level of generosity towards you personally as being more like Ebenezer Scrooge? You know, that you just feel like God doesn't want to give you anything? Or maybe do you see Him more like a kind but frugal grandparent? You know, kind of like my grandma, who always used to put a $10 bill in my birthday card every year. You know, and I knew that she loved me and that she was kind towards me, but I got to admit that, you know, I sometimes thought, you know, come on, Grandma, you can do better than $10. You know, or do you see God like a generous benefactor? You know, a benefactor being someone who, of course, is very wealthy and takes someone who's less fortunate under their wing and provides very, very generously and lavishly certain things, but very wisely and prudently. Maybe they'll put their kids through college or something like that. Or do you see God as just an all-out sugar daddy? So just take a few minutes and just talk about that and your perspectives, because probably nothing has shaped your level of generosity more than your perspective of God's generosity towards you. But don't get bogged down in this first question because there's so many other good things to get to in the grow section and the love section of your discussion guide. All right? Ready, set, go.